Today's lesson will be covering nth root radicals. Now, what does that mean? So far, all we've gone over is simply the square root of something. So that means I am doing the opposite of what is called squaring a number. So for example, x is getting raised to the second power here. That means it is getting squared. The square root is negating that exponent. It is getting rid of it. So the square root of x squared is simply x. Just like how 2 squared is equal to 4. So the square root of 2 squared is going to be 2, and the square root of 4 is 2. So that is what we've gone over so far. Now we're going to learn, what about if it's to the cube root, or the fourth root, or the fifth root? So let's take a look at this now. For our first example here, we have what is called the cube root of 16. Now the cube root is that little 3 out in front, right there, is what makes it a cube. So it is just like, it is the opposite of taking something to the third power. And how we know what root it is based off of that number, that tiny number written in front of our radical, which is this sign right there. So the cube root is 16. The process of simplifying these questions is the exact same thing we've been doing. So 16 will break down into 4 times 4. Since this is a pair, normally we would pull the 4 out in front. If it was just the square root, we found a perfect square of 16. But since this is a cube root, we need to keep on breaking this down. So 16 is 4 times 4. 4, continuing our prime factorization, breaks down into 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Here, we look for a group of 3 now, instead of a group of 2 like we've been doing. Let me circle that better. Here, 2 times itself 3 times is one group, and then this 2 that I've underlined is left all alone, doesn't have any extra buddies to hang out with, it doesn't have anybody to be in a group together with. So the 2's in this group here get moved out in front. For every group of 3 of a number or variable we have, that gets moved out in front. So it is now 2 times the cube root of whatever is left over gets multiplied underneath our radical, and that is just the lone 2 right there. So our final answer is 2 times the cube root of 2. For our second example here, let's take a look at 2 x squared times the fourth root of 162 x to the 7th y to the 12th. Now, this is the fourth root. So instead of looking for groups of 2 or 3, we're looking for groups of 4. So 162. When I break this down, it's 2 times 81. I know it's divisible by 2 because it's an even number and it ends in 2 there. So 2 times 81 gives me 162. 81 breaks down into 9 times 9. 9 is 3 times 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 3's all getting multiplied together. So I have a group of 4 there and a 2 all by itself. Now this group of 3's here, a 3 gets moved out in front. So it is 3 times 2 times x squared. Now, I'm taking x to the 7th, and we're going to break this down. So x to the 7th, this is now going to be equal to x times itself 7 times. Here, we circle any groups of 4 we can find. So we have one group of 4 and a group of 3 there. Now we cannot pull the group of 3 out in front because it is a fourth root. Here, I'm only going to move one x out in front and that is going to be multiplied with the fourth root of 2. This 2 comes from being left over right there. And then x to the third. And I'm getting x to the third from all the leftover x's right there. So last but not least, let's take a look at our y's. So y to the 12th. Well, instead of writing out y to the 12th 12 times, or y to the 12th written out as y times itself 12 different times, because that can get pretty tedious and monotonous, what I can do here is I can say y to the 12th, if I'm taking the fourth root of y to the 12th, all I need to do is divide my exponent by 4. So this is y to the 12th divided by 4, and that is going to be equal to y to the third. In other words, there's going to be 3 different groups of 4 y's from y to the 12th. So that means when I move it out in front, I'm getting y to the 4th there. Since when I divide 12 or 4 into 12, I am not getting any remainder. There is no extra y's getting left over there, left underneath my radical. So my final answer is going to be 3 times 2, 6. X to the second times x to the first. We add the exponents to get x to the third, times y to the 4th, times the fourth root of 2x cubed.